Hey, what's good, everybody? We're going to do something different today. We're going to talk only about exchange-traded funds, in particular how they're moving. We're going to highlight a few of them for you. A lot of people ask, what are exchange-traded funds? How specifically do they work? We've done a lot of great videos. Be sure to check out up here. We're going to show a link to some other videos we've done on exchange-traded funds. But let's talk about what they're doing now. Like, how do they move day by day? We're going to update you once a week on exchange-traded funds that are sort of highlighting the market performance. We're always going to start with the S&P 500. So before we do that, let me say that the following is only for educational purposes. It should not be construed as financial advice or investment advice of any kind. You should always talk to a registered financial professional before considering any investment decisions on anything that affects your money. So be sure to just use common sense here. I have to say that legally, so we're going to start saying that legally from now on. Let's jump over to the charts. We're going to start with the S&P 500, like I said. That is a picture of what the S&P 500 is doing. Pay no attention to the other garbage on the chart. The green and red blips that you see, you can obviously see a very well intact uptrend. Everything is moving smoothly. And if I zoom in here, I'm going to actually go, this first green blip that you see, that's the beginning of the year, right there on the chart. So every day has been up, of course, except for today was down just a touch, not a big deal. But the point is the S&P 500, the ETFs for the S&P 500 have added about 2.5% so far. So if you have any S&P 500 exchange traded funds, you're looking pretty good over there. Now, hopefully you don't have only one exchange traded fund. So let's move on to the Nasdaq 100. Also another exchange traded. You can also invest in the Nasdaq 100 using exchange traded funds, but it's a very similar picture. Obviously a more tech heavy, a more biotech heavy index, which means if you have any of the major Nasdaq 100 ETFs, then you're a little more invested in tech and a little more invested in biotech. Just naturally, the stocks inside of the ETF are in that sector more aggressively. Whereas the S&P, that's more heavily weighted to financials. So just to give you a little lesson there. Anyways, Nasdaq 100 doing a little bit better, but almost up about 3.5%. So that's just since the start of the year. Was just the other day. I still have my New Year's hat on the table. So just that quickly, we're already up that much. Many analysts of the market, technical traders, kind of feel like maybe in the short term we could take a little bit of a break. No pullback or anything, just even a tiny little drop to get people excited again. Look back over the trend there. You can kind of see that's what's happened. There's been no scary moves. Things just sell off. People take profits and other people jump in and they decide to play along. Now let's jump over to a sector ETF. So a sector ETF is exactly what it sounds like. It is a specified or a specialized ETF for an individual sector. So for example, there's metals and mining. So this ETF only holds stocks inside of it that are involved in silver mining, gold mining, the equipment used to mine for all that stuff. And so this is one of them. There's a lot of them. It is up about 2% today, and you can kind of just see the trend there. Metals and mining has been a favored sector. So our clients that are invested in that, you can obviously see what might be happening there, but the idea being that money is moving into this sector. There's something called sector rotation, and that's where people basically move money from one sector to another, and you can really see that if you follow all of these every day. We would have to agree that currently money is moving into the metals and mining sector at quite a rapid pace if you take a look. So pretty good there. Same problem though. Every analyst, everybody that comments on it saying, hey, that's a little too far, too fast. Look how sharp that is. That's over 25% since early November. Down here we can see that's early November. There's such a thing as moving too far, too fast. And I think a lot of people are kind of hoping that that falls down just a little bit. Let's move on to the financials. You can invest in only financial stocks, in particular the large financials. I had mentioned this a few days ago that technical traders look at something called a breakout, and I drew the line and I talked about it in a video that we did. Not making any recommendations or anything, just showing you what people look at to make their decisions. Well, financials have been doing well since then, as would be expected by those traders. The banks, they've been on a tear. And here's the idea behind this. It's not that there's some chart pattern that you should look at. Everybody's looking at the big banks and saying, if interest rates are scheduled to rise 3 times this year, then that means that banks should be able to loan at higher interest rates to the consumer and to the other banks. And so therefore, they should make a bigger profit, right? Well, that may be true. We don't know how many interest rate hikes there will be, but there is scheduled to be 3 at the moment. And so everybody likes the banks for that reason, figuring they're going to make more of a profit. I don't know, not a bad idea, right? If that happens, that happens. We're going to take a look at oil. Now, most of the time when we do our daily market videos, I'll talk about the actual price of oil, and that's the oil futures market. So that's what you're seeing on the screen now. So oil futures are kind of the direct way to follow along. Highly volatile, highly speculative product to invest in, very, very aggressive. And so some people want to participate, but they want to use exchange traded funds. Well, there's tons of them. This is one exchange traded fund that you could see basically just replicates the price of oil, but in a more non-volatile way. Is that a word? So in a more like relaxed way. This one only costs you $12, $12.68, but basically it shows that oil's on a tear, right? Actually, everything in the space is doing really well. So when oil rises, you tend to see the oil production companies, the oil suppliers, the oil explorers, all these guys that go out and have, one way or another, they're touching oil. They tend to do well too. This is another ETF for the oil explorers, the people going out and drilling for it. So that space, that exchange traded fund, all of those in the oil space doing quite well. Now, it wouldn't be right if we just highlighted all good stuff. Let's talk about some bad stuff, man. Mexico. Did you know there's an ETF for Mexico? If you want to invest in the big Mexican companies, this is the way you do it right here on the charts. Unfortunately, today was a really bad day because there was some concern from Canada. They actually put out a statement saying that they feared that President Trump was going to back out of NAFTA, and he was probably going to do it soon to put some pressure on the Mexican elections. And look what happened. If I go to a chart that shows kind of minute by minute, here is the beginning of the day today, all the way over here. And yeah, there was a little pressure. There's been some pressure on the Mexican exchange traded funds ever since our tax reform bill passed, because now it's like, hey, the US corporate tax rate is lower. Maybe we're going to compete better against Mexico. So they have suffered. But anyways, the day's going on, everything. Here's lunchtime, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden this news comes out from Canada that Trump may back out of NAFTA, and just wham! I mean, gets shot down 2% in a matter of just like 8 minutes. Very, very quick move, really hurting the Mexican ETF. So just know that there are ETFs for commodities. We went over the oil ETFs there. You can invest in financials independently, gold mining, silver mining, things like that. The index, the indices such as the S&P 500, Nasdaq, there's one for every one of them. But you can also invest in whole countries, Mexico. So as we do this once a week, I'll hopefully be able to teach you a little bit more about exchange traded funds. We'll start highlighting them a little bit better. This is just to test the water. Do you like this sort of thing? Do you like talking about the ETFs, exactly how they're performing right now? Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. I watch all the comments. I always respond to all the comments as I see them come in. Is this interesting to you? Is this a waste of time? Should I be doing something else? Let me know what you think. But the point is, I want to kind of expand the knowledge base of the people that have decided to watch me. You guys are paying attention. You guys are calling me. We're opening accounts with you guys, retirement accounts, helping you invest. Does this help you learn a little bit more? I hope so. That's all I have for you. So thanks for watching this sort of premiere episode of exchange traded funds and their performance. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk to you soon.